So here's the Charlie Kirk security guy, and he's on that CIA guy's podcast. Of course, that's where he goes. He doesn't go anywhere that's actually going to challenge his lies. And here's what he said about the drone coverage. So this, to me, this is the biggest, most easily discernible lie that shows that these guys are lying left and right. So people were talking about the drone coverage over the event where Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And this guy goes on Sean Ryan's CIA Guy podcast, and this is what he says.
I spent thousands of dollars on drones last year and got the guy's license. But if the area lies in the Provo, Utah airspace, I can't fly it. That's a 107B. We can't break the rules. Right? And then you had secondary restrictions, probably due to heavy foot traffic for the school. But I can't go in and break the rules. There's laws for a reason. And so now the school could have flown drones, the PD, but they didn't have them, right? But Orem PD has a drone unit active and professional, and that police department, I will tell you right now, is awesome.
They're awesome.
They get it. They were there. They helped both on the soft side and the hard side. And so I started asking questions.
They're so good. They let a nincompoop college student who'd never been to that campus before get up on top of a building with a rifle, and nobody stopped him or saw him. Although other people in the crowd saw him, just like at the Butler, Pennsylvania, people in the crowd saw him. But the people who are supposed to be looking at the rooftops, there's only a few rooftops. They didn't see him. They didn't see this kid get up there, put a gun together. They didn't see it. Come on. So, but they're awesome. But they didn't see a kid crawl up on a roof they're supposed to be looking at. They're supposed to be looking at it. Okay, here we go.
Questions like, you guys have a drone unit? Yeah, good. Do you have an MOU or a mutual aid agreement with the school? And they're like, yeah. I said, did they call you and ask for assistance? No. I'm like, why wouldn't you call? And then, so, that's one. So just, I can't go in and break the law. I can't make my guys break the law. I can't go in and do something that would jeopardize their
Do you have any idea why they would say no? I mean, did they?
Okay, so that's what's called a guy lying. Nobody took this guy seriously. By the way, when he did this interview on CIA Guy's podcast, everyone thought this guy was lying. It's obvious. It flies right off him. His fake sincerity, his overly explaining things. How do I know that's a lie?
Event.
Because here's Frank Turek. And he's going to tell you he was there that day with Charlie. Watch this.
This is the first event I've gone to a college campus with Charlie. He said, Frank, if you can come help me the first couple of days, could you stay an extra day and come with me to the first event? I said, of course. So we're driving in, Megan, and his team has drones up looking at the crowd from above, and they text him some video. And there's thousands of people there an hour before.
Did you hear what he just said? He's driving in with Charlie, and his team has drones up, and they're texting him video. I don't know if you just heard that, but I'll play it again.
First couple of days, could you stay an extra day and come with me to the first event? I said, of course. So we're driving in, Megan, and his team has drones up looking at the crowd from above, and they text him some video. And there's thousands of people there an hour before the start. And I said, Charlie, I don't like this place. There's too many buildings. This is the first event I've gone to a college campus with.
So do you think TPUSA is going to address that on December 15th? I bet they don't. That's why they don't want Candace Owens on their podcast. They made it so she can't be there. And she offered to be there. I'll be there any day of the week. Send me a Zoom link. I'll be there. Send me a Zoom link. I'll be there. That's Candace Owens. I'll be there any day of the week. No problem. You can take all the money I'll help you raise money for yourself. If you think if they were telling the truth, the TPUSA guys, that they would want to go on her show. They'd want to be able to talk to her audience directly. Not only are they not doing that, they're making it so Candace can't come on their show. And she would love to. And it's because of lies like that. To me, that's almost, all right, case closed. You can't trust any of these people now. Case closed. And he's one of these guys going up and on the pulpit telling people, don't trust Candace Owens or Tucker Carlson. This is all about donor money. This is all about donor money. This is all about donor money. It's all about donor money. And the truth is going to come out because they've been doing some pretty shady stuff with the donor money. And the people at the top of Turning Points USA have been filling their pockets. It looks like, filling their pockets with donor money they were hiding from Charlie Kirk.
This week, I received a letter from Turning Point titled Demand to Cease and Desist Defamatory Comments. This is the first step when someone sues you for defamation. I know there are a lot of people out there making videos about Turning Point, so you should pay attention to this. They have started sending out cease and desist letters, and for some reason, they've decided to start with me. Apparently, they cannot handle the criticism from my teeny tiny YouTube channel. This letter is showing the world the type of organization Turning Point has become under Erica Kirk.
I had to figure that out. Now, if you don't know who Wolves in Finance is, you should give this guy a follow. If you don't know where it is, I mean, he's literally at Wolves in Finance on YouTube. Just Wolves in Finance. This is him. His name's Zach. He's a great dude. He does some great investigative work. He has been uncovering some big stories for the last several years. I've liked him for a long time. And he has had some dynamite shows on TPUSA. Well, unfortunately, one of those dynamite shows has caused him a little grief, or I guess more than one of those dynamite shows has caused him a little grief because TPUSA has sent him a cease and desist letter. Now, if you don't know what a cease and desist letter is, here's how the legal process works. If you think someone has said something about you that's not true and it's causing you harm, you can send them a cease and desist letter. You could sue them, but most states require you give them an opportunity to correct the record or you don't get any damages. So if you're going to sue them, you first must give them an opportunity to correct it. That's the cease and desist letter. Essentially, it says, hey, you big dummy, you said something that's not true and it hurt me. It hurt my feelings. It hurt my business. It hurt my reputation in the community, whatever it is. You need to correct it. The thing about it is, hey, let me bring him back down. I promise you I'm not going to go today I'm not going to screw up the video today. But the thing about a cease and desist letter is you have to be on notice that what you said was wrong. You have to be able to have an opportunity to correct it. And if you don't have the opportunity to correct it, if you're not put on enough notice that you can give a correction, a judge can kick it out and say that's not sufficient notice. You're not allowed to bring that claim, or at least you're not allowed to claim damages for that claim. I'll give you an example. If I say, I don't know if there's a Tim Smith out there. That's probably too, Tim Smith. I don't know a Tim Smith. Hey, Tim Smith, you're a big dummy and you're a crook and a criminal and you steal from your business, right? That's a very specific claim. You steal from your business. I don't know who Tim Smith is. This is a hypothetical. This is not me saying anything about Tim Smith. But if I say Tim Smith, I say you steal from your business. If you want to send me a cease and desist letter, it needs to quote me. You, Barron, said, Tim Smith, quote, you steal from your business, end quote. Now I'm on notice and I know what I've said wrong. If I, on the other hand, if I receive a cease and desist letter and it says, you accused Tim Smith of being dishonest in his business practices. Well, that's not sufficient notice. I can't correct that because that's not what I said. And I think what we're going to find is this cease and desist letter has a little bit of that flair. Now, second thing about a cease and desist letter, a lot of people are under the mistaken assumption that the cease and desist letter has to come from a lawyer. That's not true. They often do come from a lawyer. They often do come from a lawyer because you want it to threaten legal action. You want to scare the other person. You want to make sure it's legally tight. You want to make sure it's binding. You want to make sure it gets the job done so that when you go in front of a judge, the judge doesn't kick you out. So that's kind of step one. Step two, you want there to be a lawyer to send it typically, but it doesn't have to be. Like your neighbor could send one. If your neighbor's an architect, can send a cease and desist letter on your behalf. It doesn't have to be a lawyer. Now, here's the key though. If you're going to send one, and you're not a lawyer, if you're going to send one and you're not a lawyer, you need to make sure that you don't threaten legal action. That's the key. You can't threaten legal action. Because if you threaten legal action, now you're practicing law. And so I would like to see the letter Zach got word for word. He kind of summarizes parts of it. I would like to see it word for word. And if you conclude that they are threatening legal action, or you conclude they are practicing law, then what I would do if I'm Zach is, and this is the advice I would give him, I would immediately file a bar complaint in 2 states. One is the state of Arizona, where he lives, because this letter came from a lawyer in Indiana. So I would file a complaint in Arizona and say there's a lawyer in Indiana who's not licensed in Arizona and he's practicing law in Arizona. That's the first thing I would do, assuming it's all lines up and assuming that's the correct thing to do. So that's the first thing I would do. Second thing I would do, I would file a bar complaint in that lawyer's home state. I would file that bar complaint back in Indiana as well. I've done this. I've done this with a lawyer who was sending a cease and desist letter to my client in another state. And then I learned that the lawyer wasn't even licensed to practice law. She had been disbarred years before. I don't think that's the case here. So then I had to follow a follow-up letter and say, not only is she not licensed here, she's not even licensed there, and she has been stripped of the right to practice anywhere. And so that's my initial advice to Zach. I would like to see it. I sent him a note on Twitter. I don't know if he saw it yet or not. May I see the letter? Because if the letter is practicing law, and you got to examine it, look at the facts of the letter, see what it says. But if you can conclude that letter is practicing law, I'd file some bar complaints. That's what I would do. I'm old school, though.
Clown world over there. And now, to add to that, to snowball, someone has made the brilliant decision to send a cease and desist letter to a relatively small YouTube channel who's made interesting videos regarding the finances of Turning Point USA. Has he gotten everything right? Of course not. We even said when he got something very wrong, like the wrong person, I tweeted and said, this is not the right person. You should take this down. And guess what? He immediately took it down and corrected it and removed it from his content. So this isn't like a bad faith actor by any means. It's wolves in finance. And I'm referring to the presenter, Zach Gregorio. I'm going to let him explain to you what happened. Take a listen.
This week, I received a letter from Turning Point titled Demand to Cease and Desist Defamatory Comments. This is the first step when someone sues you for defamation. I know there are a lot of people out there making videos about Turning Point, so you should pay attention to this. They have started sending out cease and desist letters, and for some reason, they've decided to start with me. Apparently, they cannot handle the criticism from my teeny tiny YouTube channel. This letter is showing the world the type of organization Turning Point has become under Erica Kirk. They want to send legal letters to small YouTube creators. So we're going to go through this letter. Now, it is nice that we have this letter with their official statements, but the letter does nothing to change my suspicions. It does not address most of my questions. Instead of answering my questions, it is the precursor to a lawsuit unless I change my statements. That does nothing to reduce my suspicions. For the sake of avoiding miscommunication, I can change the title of the video if that makes them more happy. I already changed it from More Fraud at Turning Point USA to More Fraud at Turning Point USA, allegedly.
I'm sorry. I just enjoy him. There's something about it. It's like my teeny tiny YouTube channel. Allegedly. I enjoy that. I'm sorry for laughing at that because it's funny. It is funny. And it's ridiculous. Guys, I thought we left in 2025. I thought that I did this for everybody. You can't just sue people to make them shut up. We have to be done with that as a society. It is a uniquely American phenomenon of suing people for everything. You know, get into your car accidentally gently touches somebody else's car. Now you need the cops there. The insurance agency is getting involved. I mean, the whole scam of suing people just needs to end. Okay? It just needs to end. Get a job, work hard. If you feel that someone is putting out wrong information about you, don't start a cease and desist letter with, we don't intend to sue you. That's what he's saying is correct. That is exactly what a cease and desist is for. It's the first step to suing somebody. Otherwise, this could have been an email. If I got him to take something out of his video after I shared it, I said, this is incorrect. And he did it, when I say instantly, over like immediately took down the video and corrected it. Why can't Turning Point try to behave like a human and just have somebody email from the PR office, hey, Andrew, this could be you, and say, hey, I do PR for Turning Point USA. Happy to answer some of your questions. Just send them over. Or say, hey, you got this wrong. Do you mind please updating this? Like, it's like, this is not right. They have so much money. They just are spending money on stupidity. And again, what is your end goal? As he says later on, he's like, I don't have any money. What is your end goal here with sending this letter? It's obviously going to backfire. But I just want to say the energy of this, I have lawyers, I can sue you, I'm rich. It needed to be left behind in 2025 with Brigitte Macron. Okay. And of course, it backfires immediately. It backfires spectacularly because now Turning Point is on record because of this video and because of this letter that they sent him. They are now on record going against themselves on record. We have received so many different stories from them regarding the drones that were there on the day of Charlie's assassination. First, Frank Turek came out and he said that while they were driving over to the event, he was showing Charlie live drone footage on his phone. And Charlie loved it. He was like, this is amazing. Then Brian Harpole, apparently unaware that Frank Turek had already told the truth, he moved to tell Sean Ryan that actually there were no drones because the university denied their request to fly them. And people were like, hey, wait a minute, that's ridiculous. You guys are saying two different statements. Why does it look like you're lying all the time? So, of course, Andrew Colvett came out, swooped in with his always perfecting PR, and he said this regarding the mix-up. Take a listen.
Early on, Frank Turek talked about that on the way there that, he actually was looking at Charlie's phone and that he saw drone footage from the event. Now, I had talked to, with that in mind, number one, I went to UVU and I actually put the drone up. We were going to do the survey. Immediately, law enforcement came up and said, hey, look, we need you to take down that drone. Now, my drone pilot had already made all the necessary steps with the FFA to make sure that we could do that. And I explained to the law enforcement officer, hey, look, you guys don't control this airspace. But he's like, well, we got policies. You have to do this. And we're not going to sit there and argue with them, right? So we ended up grounding the drone. We went and jumped through some hoops. We were trying to get some documents done. Long story short, what we ended up having to do was leave campus. We flew the drone. We were off campus. We flew the drone. We got the survey. So that kind of reinforced other people saying, Brian Harpole specifically saying, like, hey, we couldn't get permission to get a drone up in the air. And of course, people took that, what Frank said at the beginning, and said, hey, this is clear indication of lying and or a conspiracy. Well, what I found out was the picture that was being pushed around saying, hey, this is proof that there was drone footage it was very clear to me once I saw that picture. It is a wide angle shot of the crowd.
And let's
from
throw
the
that
second
up.
floor back.
Yeah, let's throw that up.
Yeah.
This is actually I think the images, guys, I sent them to you. Yeah, this is actually, there was a walkway or a bridge elevated that was just from our events team that was setting up that event. They went up there as they always did, to show Charlie the crowd size. So they took those images.
No, yeah, and I completely understand
20
why.
seconds, Gary.
Frank,
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand why Frank thought this was a drone, but again, I think it almost shows that the lack of conspiracy, because you guys aren't sitting in there, micromanaging what people say. It's just different people's perspectives, and there isn't some sort of collusion.
Yeah, that's really nice. Except now Turning Point USA's lawyer is going to dispute Andrew, and the worst PR, the worst person that PR money could buy, Paramount Tactical, because in the letter to Wolves in Finance, he says, no, there were drones, but it was only allowed for some people. But there were drones that day. Take a listen.
On December 7th, I posted a video called Top 10 Clowns of the Year. In this video, I called Turning Point my #1 clown of the year. I talked about the now infamous interview with Turning Point's chief security person talking about the day that Charlie Kirk was murdered. I point out the massive contradiction where he says they were not allowed to fly drones. Then I show the interview with Frank Turek where he says he was watching drone footage with Charlie Kirk. This part is breaking news because I'm not aware this has ever been discussed. The lawyer in this letter says the following: there was no discrepancy. UVU prohibited Turning Point USA from flying drones for security purposes during the event, but did allow a Turning Point USA media production drone to briefly fly over the location before the event to collect limited B-roll footage. First of all, how could this be defamatory if I had no idea about any of this? Second, I find this explanation absurd. You are telling me that the security team was not allowed drones, but the media team was? That is the official explanation from Turning Point's lawyer. My honest opinion is I do not believe that. But if that did happen, that is really silly, and it may have cost Charlie Kirk his life.
He is all of us. It's so absurd. Guys, you've had so much time to get your story straight. Were there drones? Were there not drones? Now, it's okay, there were drones, but only some people could have them. The media team was allowed to fly drones temporarily, and then he saw that. We were just told by Paramount Tactical and Andrew that was just the wide shot that Frank saw. Now we're like, oh no, the media team, that is what happened. They were allowed to fly drones, but security couldn't. What? You're going to let media fly drones temporarily to get a shot, but you're not going to let the security team fly drones temporarily to get a shot of what they're looking at? Does that make any sense? And by the way, hey, Brian Harpole, how about being resourceful? If you figured out the media team could do it and they could get it to Frank, why didn't they get it to you? Why didn't they get to you what the rooftops looked like? Oh, I know, because you're all lying. That's pretty obvious by now. You're all lying. Please just stop lying about everything. Because eventually what's happening is what we're going through right now. The public is having to decide whether or not you have been making genuine mistakes repeatedly, or if you have been fibbing nonstop at all hours of every day because you're engaged in a cover-up. And I am of the latter opinion. I have been for a while. There are just too many inconsistencies at all time. It's not that difficult to remember the truth. Judge Judy watched it in bed with my grandma. If you're going to be a liar, you better have a good memory. And it turns out none of you guys have a good memory. The person that had the photographic memory is dead. That was Charlie Kirk.